Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anissa Rauf. I am the Arts and Health Grants Program Manager at the Rhode Island State Council on the Arts and co-chair of the Arts and Health Network, which is a unique partnership between RISCA, the Rhode Island Department of Health, and community members. And before we start, I want to just make sure everyone has their setting on mute. This session is being recorded so that others may access it in the future. If you don't want to be part of the recording, you can just turn off your camera so that you're not visible. And if you would like closed captions, you can turn them on at the bottom of your screen. There's a captions setting and you can just click that switch. I would like to now start with a land acknowledgement. It is RISCA's practice to acknowledge that the grounds on which we are meeting are Indigenous lands. Our offices in Providence and all of Rhode Island are on the ancestral homelands of the Narragansett, Nipmuc, Okanoket, and Wampanoag people. RISCA is a committed ally, and as artists, we honor the Indigenous people, their ancestors, the culture, and the artistic representation, past and future. We recognize the continued existence and contributions of Indigenous people to our society. I now want to introduce Sherry Brown. She's one of the co-founders of the Arts and Health Network, and she is the chair of the Arts and Health Steering Committee.
Thank you, Anissa, and welcome everyone. It's great to see you. Thank you for coming. So the In Conversation Arts and Health program is a series of periodic events, virtual or in person, to come together, hear about work going on in the arts and health field, particularly here in Rhode Island, and to share thoughts, ideas, and resources as we build this community and this field of arts and health together. During February, March, and April this year, we're featuring members of the Rhode Island Arts and Health Network Steering Committee, who are people involved in the work that help to inform and guide the Arts and Health Initiative. And this afternoon, we have two wonderful presenters from our steering committee. The first will be Rachel Balaban, who's the founder and director of DAPpers, Dance for All People. She's a teaching associate at Brown University's Warren Alpert Medical School, co-founder of Artists and Scientists as Partners, and the regional coordinator of Dance for People with Parkinson's. And the second presenter will be Wendy Grossman, who is an activities therapist and coordinator of the Healing Arts program at Butler Hospital, which is a psychiatric hospital in Providence, Rhode Island, for those of you from other states. So the two presentations will be approximately 15 minutes each, followed by discussion of about 15 minutes each after each presentation. We realize that the time is really just enough time for an overview of these projects and some initial discussion. So we do invite you to follow up if you're interested in more in-depth information. And Anissa or the presenters will be posting in the chat box how to follow up with each presenter if you want to get more information. During discussion, if you have a question, please raise your hand using the little handy dandy hand icon at the bottom of your screen, or you can post it in the chat box. We'll get to as many people as we can. Again, if we don't get to you, we encourage you to follow up on your own. If you've already spoken once, we ask for you to wait for those who have not yet had an opportunity to speak up before you speak again. Toward the end of the event, Anissa will also post a link to a brief questionnaire about you and your interests in order to help us build our arts and health database and the community. So please take a few moments to fill that out. It's really helpful for us. Anissa will also add an Eventbrite link to future arts and health events and to RISCA's Arts and Health Grant Application Guidelines for those of you who are Rhode Islanders, nonprofits who can apply. The grant is now open for applications and the deadline is April 3rd. And we want to also thank Molly Flanagan from RISCA for assisting us today, helping us with the technical side. So for our first presentation, we welcome the wonderful Rachel Balaban. Take it away, Rachel.
Thank you, Sherry. I want to thank you and Anissa and RISCA, Rhode Island Department of Health, Stephen Boudreau, Wendy, my co-presenter, who I think greatly, highly of, and all the artists that we've all been working with over these years, and you all for coming today. I'm here to talk to you about the dance program, the research we're doing in programming, but in order to get a sense of where we came from, I had to give you a brief history. And that all started about 2009 when I was introduced to Dance for Parkinson's, fell in love with it, taught it, wanted to understand it more. And so I brought it to my teacher when I was an undergraduate at Brown, Julie Strandberg, and we worked for about 2 years with 4 undergraduates and created a 2-semester course sequence at Brown to help explore and understand how and why this worked. We wanted to look at the power of art to heal. And so our students were mostly pre-med, and they wanted to have a deeper understanding as well of how this all worked. So it also allowed them to stay connected to their art form while they continued their academic pursuits. So we felt we were getting a double whammy out of this. Our courses were arts and health theory and arts and health practice. And it was in this practice that we realized we needed a laboratory to present, to allow our students to be with my people with Parkinson's and to understand experientially. And so we did, but we realized we needed to expand that beyond Parkinson's. And so Dance for All People was born. And beyond the site placement where our students would take part in weekly dance classes, DAPpers became this fully multi-generational environment for people of all ages and abilities, and allowed them to connect through movement and conversation and ultimately through performance. So I'm going to now give you a kind of an overview of how come it's not advancing? Interesting. Let's see, why is my screen not advancing? Oh, how about that? Here we go. We have our mission statement. And what we realized through all of our pieces of our mission is that we really were a place for people to connect. It was using music and movement, but our time through COVID really shone a light on our work in the world and area of isolation and loneliness. And this was so true on the part of our younger students as well as our older dancers. So that's our mission. And just a very brief bit here, I could do a whole presentation on why dance, but here you can see it brings imagery and imagination, choreography, music, and projection, body moving, and really showing that dance, I feel, is somewhat uniquely qualified to impact both brain and body health, brain and body health. And if you want to think about this, the physical is somewhat obvious, especially as we were dealing with people with Parkinson's disease, but we see that Parkinson's is really a window into early aging. So this will happen to all of us at some point. So we have an impact on balance, gait, coordination, on posture and endurance. In terms of cognitive, we do a lot of movement sequencing, so that works so many different pathways in the brain, and it improves our memory. Social, emotional, I can't speak more highly about. Again, through COVID, we saw the impact of this, but it reduces symptoms of depression, feelings of anger, social isolation, and it improves confidence and the sense of agency and quality of life. So a very brief review of why dance. What I'm going to show you now is a retrospective video. And so we think of DAPpers as a dance class, is what it is, but as I said, it's so much more. And what we did early on in our years, so it was about 2013 or 14, is we partnered with Dancing Legacy, which is an organization that's co-founded by my colleague, Julie Strandberg. They work with famous modern dance choreographers who have a full body of work, and they commission these choreographers to create a dance called an etude, which is 3 to 5 minutes long, which is basically a distillation of their full body of work. And so what we were doing once we decided to partner with them is I would learn the etude full out, and then I would modify that dance for my seated dancers. And what happens is we've come, again, this multi-generational cast of high school, college, professionals, and my DAPpers. So I'm going to show you this video. It is a retrospective, so it spans about 7 years. And you might notice in the beginning, I'm verbally cueing my dancers. By the end, 7 years later, that's not happening. And a comment here, not all of my DAPpers are performers. It is, you are self-selected. You decide if this is what you want to do. So I'm going to show you this now. Let me know if you can get this. want that. There we go. All right. So just a brief comment on that. Dance is a shared story among a multi-generational cast of dancers here. And for the DAPpers participants, it really is a story about building identity as dancers rather than patients or people whose bodies are failing them, and about reconnecting to their bodies in welcome new ways. And so it's pretty powerful for the older dancers especially. Now you saw this intergenerational component in the dance, and here's where we have what we call DAP chats. And those are conversations in our dance classes, 10 to 15 minutes, which became critically important during COVID. But what happens here really is you see this sense of both the younger and the older dancers really delighting in the conversations, in learning about somebody different from themselves. And they see a shared humanity, and they gain a deep sense of connection. And it's a window into the lives of both the students and the DAPpers, creating very close and often long-lasting relationships. So we find these to be a really critical piece of what we're doing. So now on to what's happening presently. So let's see if I can get to that. So in 2020, we have two major things happen. You might remember COVID is one of them. And we immediately transitioned to Zoom and within the week, and it became kind of a lifeline for many of our participants. It was a one time per week they knew what they were doing. And so you see here, we have an educational program, we had this community arts program, and lo and behold, the Rhode Island Arts and Health Network comes along with this amazing opportunity called Artists at the Table. And this was just another lifeline. It really was to inspire community engaged methods to study arts-based programs, respecting the artists as co-designers and co-owners of this work. So as a steering committee member, I jumped on the opportunity, and we named our research project 3D, or Deeper Dive into DAPpers, to look at the successes of our program, but to see where we might go with that. We had about 15 students who were, some had graduated, some were current students looking for something to have, to pursue that brought meaning to their lives. And we had Stacy Springs, our amazing leader in many ways. She was it became, she and I are now the co-PIs on this. Now we're in our third year research project. So I'm going to show you what we're doing. Let's see if there we are. In this research project is 3D. We have three groups. We met for about 3 or 4 months to decide how we were going to work this. And we determined, I guess it was probably January of 21, we would do an intervention, a scoping, and a qualitative group. So our intervention manual is basically a how-to. It's if somebody wanted to take DAPpers and teach it somewhere, we are writing the manual literally. And it's very exciting. We're coming close to a first draft of that. And inside that manual, you have all of this information and background, mission statement, teaching philosophy, the structure, our logic model, which will give us a lot of information on the art forms and how we're putting it together, our intergenerational community. We outline our outcomes, the evaluation. We have videos of each component of a dance class. So you want to teach it, you've got it. We have about 5 people working on that. The second group is called our scoping review group. And this is a really interesting, I say tonight I have my training with Stacy and our Australian cohorts to learn how to take the data and make sense of it. So we've been working on this for quite a while. And our scoping review essentially is a way to assess the available research that's out there on a particular area. And we have these wonderful partners in Australia who are interested in the same thing. They're interested in the inputs, we're interested in the outputs. And so we've screened almost 7,000 articles. We've read almost 300 articles, and we're now doing the data extraction. So it's, I'm speaking a language I never knew before. So it's pretty exciting. And our last group is the qualitative paper, and that is also exciting. What they're doing is looking at coding and thematically processing all the ethnographic journals of our students from a semester's work of journaling. And their hope here is to create a manuscript highlighting their methods and qualitative findings for future iterations of our program. And hopefully all of this they'll be able to share with medical and artistic and education-based communities on the important role of art in medical care and student learning. So that's that. And here's our fancy poster that shows everything we're doing. It makes us feel really important, but it really is also very exciting. This was presented at the National Dance Education Conference last year. Moving on, that's just a lovely picture of a post-performance with a multi-generational cast. But here's some of the exciting stuff happening right now. And I'm saying this proudly because we are the recipient of a RISCA grant. And this is showing you our research in action. We are at the Hatta Ida Chafee Nursing Home, and we are showing the impact of music and movement and community engagement. Oh, actually, that's the next piece. This is taking our stakeholders of residents, family members, staff, consultants and artists, undergraduate students, and hopefully next semester we'll have the medical students. And we are assessing the residents' health, both social and emotional. We're looking at staff burnout. We're looking at how families interact because they are invited to be a part of this. And we are looking at everyone's understanding of the workings of the nursing home. And we're doing this through surveys, journals, reflections, and we are really excited about this piece where we're going to be working on caregiving strategies for the staff. I just have to show you this because it's fresh off the press. This was taken on Monday at the class, and what this basically is showing you is the impact of music and movement and community engagement. And what you'll see in this video is happening all around the circle. So I'll give you that little bit.
Let's do it again.
All right, I'm gonna move that along. If anybody's seen Alive Inside, there's a character named Henry. When you put the music on his ears, he's in a nursing home. He literally comes alive. That's exactly what happens to Margaret. She's generally sitting kind of slumped over in her chair, but music and movement come, and she was a former cellist, so she just comes right alive with this. My last slide here is show you kind of another direction that we are moving into. This is at a conference at Brown with all doctors, the patient and the practitioner in the age of technology. And it's basically showing how mindful movement is coming to medical students and medical practitioners at conferences and the curriculum to help them understand why it's important for bodies to move, how to keep them healthy through moving, how it's critical not only for their patients, but for them, for self-care. So this is a really important area we're about to pursue. And that is my story. And there's information. And that is it. I'm going to stop sharing if that's okay.
Yes, that will work well. And
There we go.
thank you. That was so magnificent, Rachel. Thank you for your beautiful, beautiful work. So we have time for a question or two or a comment. Again, I'm just looking, I will be looking in the chat box, and Anissa will be looking for hands for anyone who wants to speak or ask a question or comment.
Sue Black has a question.
I was wondering, are you working with just older people or multi-generational people with other, people with disabilities of all ages?
The way it's happening right now, it's mostly older people, but we are open to all people. So that's just how it is at the moment. We've had younger people at different times, but generally, yes, we are open. We are all ages, abilities, and identities. That's our motto. Yeah. Thank you for asking that, because all you're seeing are older, except for the students who are part of it.
So I don't, oh, is there, okay, go ahead.
Irina?
Oh, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, sure, Marley, yeah.
Oh, great. Well, I'm teaching right now in the Paul Cuffey Middle School. And yeah,
My father-in-law helped found that school.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
I love that school. Yeah.
And we actually had this really wonderful woman. There was a professional development day on Monday, and this woman flew in from Texas, and she was talking about movement as well and showed us some examples. We have advisory in the morning, but sometimes it's only like 15 minutes. And even of that 15 minutes, sometimes there's only, 5 or 10 minutes to really have any time at all to do something, because they have their protocols, like their greetings, and we, I have to stick to a lot of that. But I do want to introduce, I was sneaking in Simon Says kind of thing and getting them run in place and reach for the sky, and
yeah.
But I guess I'm open. I love the music and that I'm listening to in your work.
Yeah.
But I
Well,
guess
I'd be happy to have a conversation with you another time, to talk about how you might be able to introduce movement, even in small time periods. Yeah, small amounts are good. Yeah, we can do that. I'd be happy to talk to you about that.
It would be wonderful.
Yeah, I think we have time for Irina. I don't know if we have time. Yeah, but Irina, you're muted.
We'll do one more question. Yeah, just unmute
Okay.
Irina.
Oh, don't worry. I just really love her idea. And when I saw that lady in the purple, at first she's not really paying attention, but then all of a sudden she still imitates your hint. So it means like it really reaches her. And I want to talk to you because I have some ideas and stuff. Sometimes Gregory volunteers at the senior center, or I just want to talk to you, basically.
Okay, well, we'll do that. We'll talk. I just want to make
that. Thank you very much.
Yeah. One comment about that. What I said is you saw me with Margaret, but that's happening all over because of this beautiful grant we have. And Barry Seltzer's here, but we have 5 or 6 undergraduate students sprinkled throughout the area, and they're doing that with other people. And having that connection is so important. So just want to
is it free to the people because you have the grant, or how does this work?
Actually, maybe we should. I don't know if we should go on. We can talk offline, Irina. You can contact me. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
My mom is having issues. That's why I was asking. Thank you.
Yep. We'll talk.
Thank you.
Sure.
Great. Thank you. So also, I'll just mention at this point that though we're having approximately an hour of programming total, we will stay online until 6 for people who want to stay and hang out and have more discussion. So that said, let's move from the wonderful Rachel to the wonderful Wendy.
What is that?
Oh, thank you. And Rachel, yeah, thank you for your amazing, inspiring presentation. Anytime we have dance movement at the hospital, I just love to witness it and take part in it. So thank you. Thank you, Anissa and Sherry and Riska, Stephen Boudreau at Rhode Island Department of Health, our Arts and Health Network members, and all of you here. I'm so grateful to be here with all of you today. As Anissa introduced, yes, I work as a full-time activities therapist at Butler Hospital, as well as being the coordinator of our Healing Arts program. I'm just going to try and share my screen now. Let's see if it works. Okay, that worked? All right. Okay, so yeah, I'd also like to begin with a little history of how our Healing Arts program began before I share about a current program we're offering. Our program was first developed in the fall of 2010 by Barb Ostrov, who is our former director of occupational therapy, who's just an awesome woman. And she developed this pilot in partnership with Healing Arts New Pathways to Health, which I'm not sure if they're still in Boston, but they're a nonprofit that was training artists to work in healthcare settings. And so with a small grant, I think from the Rhode Island Foundation and some Butler funds, she did a 3-month pilot with the objectives to introduce our hospital to the arts as a viable treatment modality. She wanted to show the effectiveness of the arts to improve patients' mood. And she wanted to provide our staff as an activities therapist and our occupational therapist. We facilitate a variety of groups with our patients in our inpatient and outpatient programs. And so she wanted us to gain skills in the arts so that we could offer more enhanced arts programming to the folks that we were working with. And so that first pilot was a 3-month residency. We had a poet, a drummer, a dance movement person, and they ran groups on all of our inpatient units that we got to observe. And we had these wonderful brown bag lunches where, again, we got this in-depth view of their artistry, as well as learned how to shape, actual groups that we could run ourselves and get comfortable with. I was so lucky to start working in the fall of 2010. And because this arts and health work has always been a passion of mine, and because I had a background in developing arts programming and writing grants, I said to Barb, when up 2 pilots, I think she ran another pilot afterward, like, we need to keep this going. Can I write grants? This is important work to keep going. And so she was very supportive, said yes. And since that time, we've, developed, in succession, different artist residencies that take place on all of our 7 inpatient units, and some of our outpatient programming, especially our young adult programs, training our activities therapists and occupational therapists to integrate this work into their other groups is still going on. We also produced, this was another brainchild of Barb's, healing arts conferences at the hospital annually from 2014 through 2017. And we would have just people from the community, whether you were a social worker, artist, educator, clinician. We would have all these breakout sessions with different artists and people, that facilitated groups and keynote speakers to, again, have people learn more about how to use the arts and the folks that they're working with and bring it back to their communities. Right now, Carrie Lynch is our director of OT, where the Healing Arts program falls under, and Laura White Carpenter, I work with her, she is an occupational therapist and artist, and she's our program support specialist at the Healing Arts program. And our goals, continue to be to now like build further awareness of the Healing Arts program at the hospital. Most of the work has been done on our inpatient units. And so if you're not working directly on the unit and you don't have to be there that shift where an artist comes in, you might not know about us. We also really want to humanize the hospital setting and treatment experience for the folks that we're working with. And we're working to promote wellness, of course, for our patients, caregivers, and more so now even staff. And of course, we want to support local artists and bring in our outside artists to come in and do this work. Some of our first key artists that we worked with were internal people at the hospital. We had Terry Pimley, a musician and music therapist, and Carrie Peterson Weaver, a dance movement therapist, who were facilitating groups. Over the years, we've had Len Cabral, famous Len Cabral, storyteller, poet Christopher Johnson, and some of the main artists that we're currently working with, you'll hear more about in a little bit, are violist Ashley Frith, storyteller Valerie Tutson, poet Susie Santana, who presented last month Arts and Health Conversation, and printmaker, cartoonist Walker Metling. And we've, of course, received wonderful support, from RISCA primarily to help us carry out this programming. Gonna move forward. Whoops, not that one. Sorry. I'm not sure why it's not going forward. There we go. And so fast forward, we were all set to, 2020 to have Ashley Frith, the violist, come in and do a big residency on all of our inpatient units. And of course, we know what happened there. So that was shut down, and we could not have any outside people in. And yet those of us working on the units, still had to show up every day and be there for, our patients. And we didn't know, what we would do with this project. We didn't want to have Ashley she was going to do a vast amount of programming on each of our units, and we didn't want to do everything on Zoom for our patients. We really wanted to try and wait for her to be able to come in. And so she did, however, though, create for our staff a 5-minute performance video and a 50-minute sound meditation video. And we sent that out on eBlast to all of our staff, which was wonderful for them, to be able to have that. And we, Laura and I would also talk about, though, that we knew that we as staff and our patients needed something, during this dire time. And I do have to acknowledge it was people from outside the community that kind of reached out to us to show us that kind of care. And so here you'll see Nefis White, artist, and Jacques Bidot, master printmaker. And at the time in spring 2020, they were affiliated still with AS220. And they wanted to do something for frontline healthcare workers, and they created what they call these print care packages, and they distributed 100 of them to us. I'm gonna try and go forward. I want to go back. Not sure, I can't see how I go back. Oh, okay. And so they made these beautiful prints. Each person got 3 prints and a handwritten card from an ASD20 staff member or artist. And I want to read the Toni Morrison quote on this one. This is precisely the time when artists go to work. There is no time for despair, no place for self-pity. I can't read because my bar isn't there. Can you read it, Anissa? No need for...
No need for silence and no room for fear. We do
Thank you.
language. That is how civilizations heal. From Toni Morrison.
Thank you. And so that was something that was on my mind a lot. And we wanted to do something. And yet, I mean, I'm going to show the folks that did receive these prints, and it made a lot of people happy. We were able to give prints to, they gave us 100 prints. We gave them to 44 members of our housekeeping department that were working so hard during the, the pandemic, our senior specialty unit, with our frail elder folks, and our emergency services department. So it was a wonderful gift to get that care. And yet, Laura and I would talk about what can we do? This is the time we should rise up and the arts can do everything. And I was really inspired by what a lot of artists and arts organizations were able to do during this time. And yet, frankly, sometimes it was hard to, muster the energy and the will to feel like we could. But one day, Laura and I got out there with some chalk art. We were inspired by, I was inspired by the University of Florida Arts and Medicine program, who I saw doing chalk art for their frontline workers. And so we got out there and did that one day for our coworkers. And so that was appreciated by them, I know. And despite not still, and none of us knew how long this was going to last. So, I wrote another grant for patient care, for a residency called Reemerge, Renew and Rise Up, because we wanted to create this time and space for our patients to connect with what they had gone through and all the further isolation that they had to experience, and the impact that had on their well-being. And we were not able to carry that out. I remember in 2021, we were able to have, I think, Ashley come in for a little bit and Susie come in, and then we had to stop again because cases went up, right? So there was just a lot of stop and go and challenges and trying to bring in the arts, which we knew were, so vital to everyone's well-being. So finally, beginning of this year, we did get a project grant also from RISCA for Reemerge and Renew, a artist residency for staff wellness. And Ashley Frith was our first artist who was able to come in January. Before she came in, actually backing up a little, we actually sent out a survey to our staff. We had printed surveys that were in our Arboretum area outside our cafeteria, as well as had an online version. The surveys were translated into Portuguese and Spanish, as well as being in English for our staff whose primary first languages were Portuguese and Spanish. And we're really trying to gauge what were people's interests. We let them know what artists would be there, what the offerings were, when could people attend, what would be any barriers to coming. Just knowing, with wellness being a big part of what we talk about in all kinds of work settings. And I'm thinking of actually a conversation I had with Melody Gamba, who was the Arts and Health Artist in Residence recently, that not wanting it to be this like add-on, this extra thing that folks would have to do, especially working in a hospital. Like, how likely are people who want to stay after their shift is over or come in early? Lunch hour was the most popular time for people, to come. So we running programs at lunchtime. And Ashley, each artist is coming 2 times. We have 4 or 5 different artists, which I'll be talking about. So Ashley had 2 offerings planned. She, on her first day, she wanted to do sort of like sound meditation performance in Ray Hall, which is a building that's probably just a 60-second walk from our cafeteria. And I had told her it's challenging to get people, outside of the building, and no one came. Okay, so lesson learned. I just said, okay, we have to do everything in an arboretum where people are. It is right outside our cafeteria. It's a big pass-through hallway, so we have many people coming through, from one building area to another, and of course going to the cafeteria. So the very next day, Ashley came and did a beautiful mini concert in our arboretum. Many people, stood by, and it was, maybe they'd stop for 5-10 minutes. We had some folks who just sat through the whole concert, and I could just hear, my fellow coworkers just saying like, wow, this is so beautiful. We're so happy the hospital is doing this. I had one woman say to me, who's a dietary worker, she said, wow, this is really nice. They're bringing the soul back to Butler Hospital like how it used to be. So so that was really, really wonderful, and a little lesson learned. And so I'm going to just forward. And then next up, Walker Metling, printmaker, and both Ashley and Walker, the majority of artists have been working on our inpatient unit, so we're familiar with the hospital and doing great work there. But Walker Metling came and did a printmaking session February 23rd. And if you can see at the bottom of the screen, he did this beautiful illustration of this garden area of the building. And this was, people could just drop in, make their own beautiful print and walk off. And it was just really a joyous afternoon. This is my amazing coworker on my unit, Karina. She's a mental health worker, very happy with her print. I have a lot of printmaking photos. This is Kaylee, who works in the secretarial department. She was very serious. She was into it. She's like, I really like art now. She's very happy with her print. Two staff members on one of our intensive treatment inpatient units. People could bring their own shirts if they wanted to. And the one thing I noticed too is just like, you would see people passing by, say, come make a print. And there's a lot of connection and conversation. People got to meet people and see people because we're all kind of in our little silos. And these folks I had never met before. They work in the research department in a different building, and they had seen, the news about what was happening and came over and made prints too. So it was a nice way for people to gather. And there's Charlene, a secretary, and Walker sort of at the end of his print run. He always brings a lot of joy and fun and humor to his events when he's with us. So it was really great to have him here. Next month, at the end of this month, actually, Valerie Tutson will be doing storytelling with us. And then Susie Santana will be doing some drop-in poetry and possibly poetry performance. And we're very excited to have, for the first time, the House of Glitter Dance Collective. So Black, Indigenous, people of color, queer dance collective. And they will be doing a dance party with us. Each artist is coming 2 times. They're going to do a dance party, and then they have some cool ideas for a second offering for us. And so we just really wanted to create the space, for our staff, because we are a mental health hospital, and we know that what everyone has been through, and I know all of us, wherever we are, it might feel like, okay, we're just going back to living and not even just pausing and breathing and acknowledging, all that we've been through, and especially being in this setting, which, a lot of people were just, it's been a hard couple of years. And so really to create that space where this can happen for staff to, experience some joy, some connection with some of the amazing artists that are already doing such, great work with our patients. And one of the, I guess, sort of surprises for me so far is that we're really building great awareness of the programming and getting it known as a thing, like this viable thing that is happening at the hospital. Because as I was saying earlier, if you aren't working directly with patients and on the units, you really don't know about the work of the Healing Arts program. And so it's been a big boost to garner presence and support and energy and helping to build community and this sense of, that this is something that's, embedded in the hospital. And I hope it's also, building this awareness that we as, workers, we also need things for ourselves to be well, to rest, to rejuvenate, heal, and connect with one another. So with this project, that's one of our big goals. And so that, I think, and that is all I have to say right now. So thank you so much for this opportunity to share.
Thank you, Wendy. And anyone who has a question or comment, if you want to just raise your hand or put it into the chat box. And while we're doing that, I just wanted to say to you, Wendy, thank you so much for focusing on one of the areas that I think, the Arts and Health Network and in general in Arts and Health, we don't often, though it's there as one of our focus areas, caring for caregivers, a lot of times it's like the last thing that we all think of. And even if we are caregivers in our own lives, and it's just so important to remember that, especially during a health crisis like we've been going through with behavioral mental health issues, just so challenging and so prevalent, that we must take care of caregivers. So I commend you for keeping going each time you tried something, and we're about to start it and couldn't do it. And thank you for reminding us of the importance of caring for caregivers. And I'm so glad that you're providing that in Rhode Island, and I hope that it provides inspiration for other people as well.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your support.
So comments and questions for Wendy, raise your hand or in the chat box. Sue Black Weaver.
Yes, I just wanted to say I agree with Sherry that supporting the caregivers is so important, and maybe it will expand to be, a real art therapy thing for your patients. If the caregivers are benefiting from it so much, maybe they'll carry that over to working with your clients.
Yes, yeah, thank you for that. I agree, because we had already seen, a little bit of how when it's on the units and the staff are present, how they're absorbing it and seeing, it had helped with the relationship also, between the patient and the caregiver and the doctor, that they could connect around that. So I agree.
And our partner, Stephen, you have your hand raised.
Yeah.
There, yeah. Good evening, everybody. It's so great to see such a great turnout, and really to continue to learn and hear about the great work that Wendy and Rachel are both doing to sort of forge the field and move us forward in this arena. It's just been an exciting thing to watch and very, very inspiring. I just agree with everything that was just said, and wanted to point out that as we move this work forward, and it's known and familiar to most people on this call, that artists in these arenas are caregivers as well. And so making sure that we're taking care of each other in this work is hugely important too.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments?
I just wanted to add a comment because I got to observe when Walker was doing the printmaking with staff a few weeks ago. And it was nice just to see what people were doing. And one of the comments I shared with Wendy, one of the staff, said after she was doing the act of screen printing, she had never done it before. And she just said, just the process of pulling the squeegee back was just a relaxing, just gave her a moment of like joy and pause and meditative, just that just taking that moment out of the day and giving someone that opportunity to just be reflective. And the fact that she verbalized it out loud, you know, she just said, oh, like, oh, it was just such a nice moment of pause and you know, rest, as well as interesting again, just to see people take their prints that Walker did of the space that Wendy worked with Walker, was that they were also printing something of a space where they work, which I'm guessing sometimes might be a conflicted feeling with the space that you work that gives you stress, but that they were actually creating this piece of art of this space. I just thought that was also just to see people's reactions. Some people literally took shirts off their back just so they could print once they saw it was happening. So I just thought that was interesting just in the moment. So just wanted to share that.
Yeah, thanks for recalling that. Yeah, that you had shared with me. And yeah, people came up to me in the cafeteria last night. I mean, the other day too. I got a frame for my print. So people are proud, and I forget about that pride that people have, you know, for the work they do there. It's not easy work. Yeah.
And thank you. Stephen just posted for everyone to take a look at more information about the Department of Health, Arts and Health Partnership. So, and said ideas for future topics and presenters. So please pass on your feedback, and you can take a look there at more information about what the Arts and Health Partnership is about. So we're about at an hour. I just wanted to open up for questions or comments to either Wendy or Rachel, if people have had things that they've been thinking about, questions that you might want to ask.
We have one question from
Annabeth?
Anna too.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say hi, everybody. I miss being in that little basement with you. I loved. Yeah, I actually had a similar story to Wendy, that we were going into recovery centers, harm reduction centers, and different treatment centers, and we were teaching. We started our first RISCA Arts and Health was teaching providers how to use really simple drama therapy techniques. And every session turned into them just wanting to go through the experience for themselves. And so after our first pilot, we made the same pivot. We were like, oh, no, you know who really needs this is the providers. And now it's been a couple of years, 3 years now, of providing drama therapy for people working in the front line of the opioid crisis. And so it's serendipitous and not surprising that caregivers want this kind of work. And I also just wanted to offer to Wendy, I'll put my email in the chat. If you ever want to do any drama therapy with your patients or with your caregivers, we'd love to partner. So thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you, Annabeth. I know your program sounds, amazing. So needed. Thank you.
That's great to know you're doing that, Anna. I'm glad to hear that. So anyone else, questions or comments for either of the presenters, thoughts you've been having? Okay, I don't see any raised hands. We've got from Anissa, I'll just draw to everyone's attention the Eventbrite link to past and future conversations. So if you want to know about the future events, Irina, were you going to say something?
Oh, yes. I wanted to ask a little bit more about the thing that just got posted about the partnership. I've never heard about that before. We're kind of looking for more opportunities for Gregory, if possible. He's a violinist, a composer. He can arrange music that someone can perform to, and he has experience working with some special needs. As I said, he's also volunteered at an elderly, senior center and stuff. I don't know if I'm asking the right questions. I just wanted to put out there, and maybe because you guys know some resources or you may have these needs, that's why I'm speaking right now.
And Irina, I can speak to that a little. The Arts and Health Network, our partnership, is the partnership that was formed before between the Rhode Island State Council on the Arts and Rhode Island Department of Health, and with an advisory group around thinking about arts and how it can help with health and well-being. And then out of that was the grants program that was started at RISCA that
Oh, wow.
you're looking at applying to, the steering committee, and some of the work that people are sharing here now. A state arts health plan that was developed with the advisory group and under the leadership of Stephen and Sherry. So it's, and this conversation like that, this is what it is. The network is sort of advancing and highlighting and spotlighting what is happening. And so like this conversation is
Oh, okay.
by that.
I,
So
I
that's
actually really appreciated this presentation.
and that the idea is that as people get to know each other, you can offline or connect with people and, you know, share opportunities.
That is actually really helpful. So I'm very grateful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And if you follow that link that Stephen posted, you can learn more about the partnership. There's a short 5-minute film about how we view what arts and health is from a variety of perspectives, and that might also give you some ideas.
Oh, thank you so much, Sherry. Thank you.
Thank you, Irina, for being here.
No problems. Louis is also here, or was here. He's the guy you met today, Anissa.
Right. And Rachel has her hand up.
All right. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of to piggyback on the conversation before about caregivers taking care of themselves. And I did mention it in my presentation, but this is something I've been working on for 10 years at the medical school and getting very little traction. And all of a sudden, it's now important. I'm seeing a much bigger rise of interest from the medical students, and I've actually just been asked to speak, or and I don't want to speak, I want to move at a suicide prevention conference in medicine. So it's you know, it startles me that people who are caregivers are so unconnected to their bodies, and if they could be somewhat more in touch, they might make better doctors, not to mention be healthier themselves. So I have to say it's working on this, and I'm just thrilled that it's slowly starting to happen.
Yes, we love that you're infiltrating the future doctors of the United States and beyond.
Yeah, it's taking some time, but I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to be 95, but I'm going to make it.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts or comments on this theme or for our presenters?
I wanted to just add, I'm Barry Zeltzer. I'm the CEO of Hattie Hattie Chafee Home. I wanted to thank RISCA for providing us with a grant to have this fabulous program that we have here at the home for the residents. In addition to the dance, we also have a theatrical component to it. We have Julie Strandberg, who's overseeing the program, and Rachel and Barry are artists in residence. And we have such a fabulous program here with the Brown students. We have undergraduate Brown students and also one medical student who are participating in this program. And we welcome the community to come and view this program. So if there's anyone interested in wanting to come here, please see me or contact me.
It's so nice to hear the direct link, like, you know, the applications come in, the projects are funded, and then just to hear from the artist, from, you know, you, Barry, what's happening, and that as things are in process, just like Wendy said at Butler, things also change and pivot, responding to the time and the community and the space and being responsive to what's needed. So it's nice to hear directly from you and the community and what's working, what's not, and how to change, and that we're all human, and so we need to be responsive. So thank you for
It's all working. It's all working.
Thank you.
So we have a hand
working.
raised from Kunle Adewale. And I apologize if I didn't say your name correctly.
No, you pronounce it accurately. Thank you so much. My name is Kunle, and I'm originally from Nigeria, but I'm based in Manchester, here in the UK. And today's session has been very fascinating. I have been in the space of art and health for over 10 years now, with incredible work. Founded the Global Art and Medicine Fellowship Program, which has had over 1,000 participants, students, and professionals from 43 countries in the world. So yeah, it's very massive. And but based on my global work, I just moved from Nigeria I spent 40 years of my life in Nigeria. So now I'm moving to Europe to develop new partnership and new engagement. Apart from my area of interest in the area of dimension of governance, leadership, engagement, and all of that, I'm also kind of like a multimedia artist. I use virtual reality for seniors. I've done a lot of work in that space, and I've had global media documentaries on my work, including Al Jazeera, Reuters, Guardian UK, France 24, like some of these giant global media have done a lot of coverage of my work and the use of virtual reality to support the elderly ones, those living with dementia, those with cognitive decline. And then presently, I mean, like I'm here in Manchester, and I'm thinking, I'm reflecting, like in terms of what is possible. Maybe there's an opportunity to come deliver VR engagement where you are based at, and then maybe with the elderly in the community, and also maybe to do also training for maybe staff members. So because these are the things I've done as well, not just delivering the use of technology engagement and intervention for the elderly, but also teaching the carers and the staff of the care home on how to use technology to support the population. So it's kind of a two-dimensional approach to facilitating in digital technological engagement for this population. And that's just one. That is just one. And yeah, I just like, let me just check in with you. It's kind of late. You can see like it's very late now in Manchester. Like I know for some of us in UK, but that's why I'm not able to put on my camera. But then I want to make sure that I'm able to attend this session. And the second one is a program I'm also like kind of like part of, which is the Art and Health Week, the Global South Art and Health Week happening in September, which happened to be the first of its kind for art and health all over the world. Like, so with focus on Latin America, Asia, and Africa. And so Art and Health Week is an hybrid event that brings countries within Asia, Latin America, and Africa together. And that particular week, there's a lot of activities across the continent, across countries, across community, different engagement. And I was listening in to the session and like seeing what is possible, like what partnership, maybe we could have your organization deliver maybe a grant writing session for professionals, in the Global South, right? I'm just thinking of what is possible. So, but I don't know who the right person to speak with. Maybe send an email and then maybe have a conversation outside this room, and they have a more close, deep conversation to dive in as we plan ahead. I don't know. Sorry for talking so much.
Thank you, Kunle. And could you share your contact information? We have it as the organizers of the event, but for other people who may be interested, if you could just post that in the chat, the best way for people to contact you. And I think we certainly would love to know more about the worldwide Arts and Health Week. That sounds very fascinating and wonderful. Okay, is there anyone else who would like to share information? Questions, thoughts, comments? Okay, I don't see any hands raised. Am I missing anybody, Anissa?
Nope.
Or anybody in the chat box? Glad that you're
Thank you.
feeling inspired
Thank you.
and empowered.
Suba.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to everyone, to the presenters. Thank you again, and for everyone who attended.
Sue has her hand up.
Yep.
Yeah, I just want to I just wanted to say, I think I misunderstood Anissa's invitation at the beginning to introduce ourselves on chat. So I gave you my little history there, but I thought everybody was going to do it. Yeah, so I'm working as, I was a teacher and I also ran the Wellness Coalition on Block Island. So I dealt with the Department of Health a lot because, we have our social isolation is such a huge risk factor here. And I started losing my hearing a few years ago. So I'm creating a program with the arts for people that are hard of hearing. And so I'm excited to connect with you and see what kind of ideas and support I can get for that. I'll start with the hard of hearing. Maybe it'll expand to, like the outside art where they're doing stuff for people with disabilities. So anyway, thanks for this today. It was really great.
Yes, and you're getting comments in the chat, Sue, if you can see it, to please reach out.
Oh yeah.
Did you say you're on Block Island?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I've been here. I came with friends in college 40 years ago, and my husband is a ship captain, so it didn't matter where we lived. So we were very lucky to be able to raise our kids here and stuff. So anyway, my life is totally changed with hearing loss. I'm working on my peer mentoring certification with Gallaudet University, which I'm almost done with. So, and we also have a new initiative here. We're starting a Block Island Arts Council. So we want to really promote art tourism, kind of shift some of the reasons people come to Block Island. So it's a very exciting time out here.
Yes, thank you for sharing that.
We'll also connect you with Janine Chartier if you drop your email address.
Okay, any other final comments, questions, thoughts?
I'll just share, Sherry, about our upcoming conversations. Our next one is, the next two are actually in person and not via Zoom. The next one is on April 19th. I had dropped a link about our future. The Eventbrite link has information about the next one in April, which is going to be at the RISD Museum. Topics are clinical arts in the museum, and also the presenter Hera Gallery, creating community since 1974. The May conversation is going to be in person at the Powers Building, 1 Capitol Hill. That's May 11th from 4 to 5:30. That's not up on Eventbrite yet, but it will be. That one's actually going to be done in partnership with our education programming team and Gloria Christ from the core, and we're going to be looking at youth, specifically girls, middle and high school girls, and the issue of mental health crisis and how their needs are being served, what's working, what's not, and how we can forge together supportive pathways. But so stay tuned. I dropped the link for the interest form. Again, we want to stay connected as we make connections with people, hear about what is happening in this field. It's super inspiring to hear again what's happening at what Wendy's been doing at Butler, and same with Rachel. And you guys have been doing this work for a long time and have just been it's inspiring. So I'll turn it over to you, Sherry, to close this out.
Okay, well, once again, thank you, everyone, the presenters, everyone for being here. If you're interested in grants, you still have 2 more weeks to apply, and Anissa is your gal. You want to contact her if you're a Rhode Island nonprofit to talk about an arts and health grant. It's not too late. 2 weeks is enough time to get it done, especially because if you've already been doing and thinking and working with your community, that's really the large part of the work. And then being able to frame it for a grant application is something that Anissa can help you with. So thank you once again to everyone, and have a good rest of your evening. And we hope to see you at future events. So take care.
Thank you.